go ahead and start liking this live and start sharing this live. If you are joining me from over on YouTube, I appreciate you joining me over on YouTube. Let me just go ahead and do this right here. Cool. All right. If you are joining me over on YouTube, I appreciate you joining me on YouTube. If you are joining me on TikTok, I appreciate you joining me on TikTok as well. Go ahead and start liking the live and start sharing. Liking the live and start sharing. This is Tuesday Testimonials. Right now, we are doing the 13th, the lucky number 13th, the heathen 13 of Atheist Testimonials. All right. Tonight we're gonna have a very good friend of mine. I met her on the r/AskBlackAtheist subreddit. She is a intelligent human being as far as I can see, and we're gonna learn a lot more about her and how she became a minority within a minority. So everybody, help me welcome to the stage, Arlinda. Arlinda, how's it going?
It's going well. How's it going for you?
It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. You know, I mean, work's been a little bit crazy, but and you know, I work in insurance and I live in Florida, so it's yeah. Yeah. I work in insurance and I live in Florida, so it's, yeah, you know how that go.
I can
Mm.
imagine. But you
Yeah, you
just
know
don't
how that
deny
go.
everything. That's what I heard they do in Florida. Okay, let's get back to the topic.
No, it's all good. Yeah, we try to not deny everything, but there's a lot of things we have to deny. You know what I mean? And the company I work for is something called non-standard, which means that if one of our insureds hit you, we're not going to pay for your rental. We're going to reimburse you, but we're not going to pay it up front. So we get a lot of people getting upset about that. You know, but like, it was your client who hit me. Why do I got to pay for my rental? Like, you're gonna pay for it, so you might as well just roll with it, buddy.
Understood.
Oh man, but all right, enough about work. All right, we're here for the fun stuff. We're here to learn how we became a minority within a minority. Arlinda, I really appreciate you. I first met you on r/AskBlackAtheists, and I'm so glad that that exists at the moment. I'm so glad that we have Facebook that exists. You know what I mean? Because back in the days when it was just MySpace and YouTube, you couldn't really find a lot of those communities. You know what I mean? You had to email each other and everything like that. But now that we have these, we can do these type of interviews. We can do content over on YouTube. We can do all of that and explain to people how they became a minority within a minority. So that's really the first question that I always open up with. When it comes to you, tell a little people about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And how exactly did you start to go into non-belief, or have you always not believed?
Oh no, my name is Arlinda. Right now I am a small business consultant. I've developed a couple of niches. One of them is in medical device and the other is in returned citizens. So businesses that deal with people who have been incarcerated and come out and they're trying to make a new way for themselves. So I've developed a couple of niches just because of my interest and my background in my job. Now, as far as when I became a non-believer, I want to point out for one thing, I am agnostic, which basically means for those of your audience that don't know, it means we don't know what we don't know. So there might be a God, there might not be a God. We follow the evidence, and we don't know. Now, I grew up in a very Christian household. My mother is a missionary and she is a very good Christian woman. I would say that even if I was hidden, if more Christians were like my mom, Christianity would do better, is what I'm going to say. Now, when I was growing up, I went to church all the time. We had services maybe four times a week, and it was a Church of God in Christ, which is a relatively strict Pentecostal church. And I took church very seriously. Now, I was always a very inquisitive child, so I would ask questions of my pastor. And one of the questions that I would ask is, why would a merciful God let billions of people die just because their mother taught them wrong? And I would ask that in the church. And he really wouldn't have much of an answer. Some of the answer would be, to him and other family members, some of the answer would be something like, well, everyone has the opportunity to learn about Jesus Christ. And so my follow-up at age 8 or 9 would be, Okay, so why would they believe you over what their parents say? I will
Right.
believe my mom over their mom, so why would they wouldn't believe their moms over ours? And they would just kind of look at me. And so the church at the time really didn't have any answers for me. And so I started reading the Bible for myself. So when we would have these scriptures in the sermon, they would give me the scripture coming out, and I would read above the scripture and beyond the scripture, and to get
Mm-hmm.
the context of the story. I'm doing this at 10 and 11 years old. And I would say, that wasn't the context. That's not what they told me. So you know how we are in service and they kind of pick out things that sound good, but they're not really as relevant to the rest of the story. And so
Right.
I started reading more and more, and frankly over time I know the Bible better than a lot of Christians because I researched it. And the truth is I didn't stop going to church even then. Like, even after I had decided that I was agnostic, there's a church actually in Northeast Ohio that I went to, and I went as an agnostic, and I went in there and I said, I'm an agnostic, and they accepted me the way I was. I never said I was a Christian. I went to the Bible study, I went to the community. It was a very good church. But and I went because of community, which I think a lot of people do, but it never actually made me believe. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this I went through a couple of phases of being a real Christian. For example, I was saved when I was in junior high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saved for a while, and but it just didn't feel right, right? Like there,
Yeah.
like I needed to understand more. And as I'm reading the Bible from a very young age, and I'm finding all of these holes, and then I started, as I grew up, I kind of came to a different conclusion. Now, one conclusion that I came to is, hey, these religions, one of them might be right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will find out later in life. So I'm going to continue to live a very good life and do what I believe is right and be right by other people. And if I get to the creator, they're going to be this merciful good person, as we all the religions say that these people are, and they're going to let me in anyway because I'm great. Otherwise, we don't exist and we perish into
Exactly.
dust, and that's fine too. Now, that is, I can give more details, but most of my life I have been pushing back and questioning, even to the point where my family has said, Erlinda, you need to stop reading books. And I told my family members that any religious system that has to rely on my ignorance, it just doesn't bode well for the religious system. And so I, as a person who was a little bit more scientific minded, a little bit more evidence based, I was open to the idea of there being a God. I just wanted something evidence based. And also, as I did my own research on how the books were chosen to be in the Bible, for example, there was pretty much a group of men that decided which books were going to be in the Bible, and there was all of this bias around the choices. For example, there was a book, I think it was Paul and Thecla. I don't quote me, people in the audience, but there was a book that was written in biblical times, and the people who decided what would be in the Bible chose to exclude it because it presented women as more equals instead of subservient. And they said this book must be of the devil because
Mm-hmm.
it has women as equals. And so as I'm looking through how men have contributed to religious texts, their biases, all the different translations along the way, I came to the conclusion that even if there is a God, I cannot look to the religious texts that exist to figure out how to have a relationship with that being. So
Right.
I guess I'm going to shut up at that point because I'm assuming you'll have other questions because I will babble. So I assume you have other questions, but for the most part, I started off my path of agnosticism, if that's the proper word, based on the fact that I was asking very pertinent questions that are reasonable questions and never getting a realistic or a reasonable answer based on that. Now, other people
Mhm.
might talk about hypocrisy in various religious organizations and those types of motivations. The truth is, although I thought some of the churches that I belonged to were a little bit stricter than I liked, they had a little bit a doctrine that I didn't like. I don't have the stories of, I guess, abuse or mistreatment or all of those. The most of the, I mean, my pastor was a great man, but my church were good. My mother is a missionary and she is a true Christian. I have an actual good relationship with a lot of religious people that just doesn't contribute to my belief system. Are you frozen? Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know something? Your story is very, very similar to mine. I always say the same exact thing. Like, I was a very inquisitive kid. I used to always ask questions. Get in trouble for the questions, like where did all the water go after Noah's Ark? Where did Cain's wife come from? After Adam and Eve. Questions like why did God do that to Job? To just to win a bet with
Oh, I
Satan? That makes
hate
no
the
sense to me.
story of
I mean,
Job.
that
Oh
seems
my
very, very
God.
cruel. You know what I'm saying? I hate it with my life. Hate it with my life. Oh my goodness. And the thing is, like, we have a very, very, very similar, and just like how you are, like, when it comes to me, I've always said, I kind of, when it comes to church, I kind of won the lottery because I'm a cisgender heterosexual and I'm male. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm the pastor's son. So it's like I kind of won the lottery when it comes to church, like
Mhm,
I'm all three things that people are going to accept and automatically give you power, So
mhm,
I, all of my experiences from church have all been good experiences. I don't have any trauma stories at all. I mean, I may have a bit frustrations, but never any trauma. You know what I'm saying? So it was very, very similar, but like it was more of an exercise of, let me see if this thing is actually right, because I took philosophy classes in college,
mhm,
and it got me really, really thinking, like, do I actually have a good reason to believe what I believe? Yeah, I mean,
mhm,
so it's a very interesting dynamic. Or I've seen a lot of people who come to either non-belief or agnosticism would say the same thing. It's like, I was always thoughtful as a kid. I mean, I was always asking these questions, and honestly, I would get a lot of people who are still believe, who always say, "Oh, I had these same questions, but I'll always just leave it up to God." That's what they
Yeah,
always say. I'm just gonna leave it up to God.
every time I asked a question that a religious authority couldn't answer, they just said that you either had to have faith or that you need to pray and God would send you the answer. And okay, that hasn't worked yet. I mean, I'm not necessarily a prayer person. I probably should have faith before I pray. Like there's a chicken and an egg situation in the reverse, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, yeah, same. Like, it's the same thing for me. It's just these things just don't work. We actually do have a question, and I appreciate
Okay.
someone asking this question. It says, "Do you find yourself hiding your lack of belief from some of your loved ones because you don't want to hurt their feelings?" That is actually a very good question.
I do not.
Mhm.
I do not. I never have. I when I was younger, let's talk about my relationship with my mother for a minute. When I
Mhm.
was younger, I decided, I was a teenager and I decided I was going to have a relationship with my mom where I could tell her anything.
Mhm.
Now, this means that at a young age, before I was doing anything with anybody, I was asking her about sex and all of these things. And it wasn't comfortable. But so I guess I exercised a muscle earlier in my life so that later on, I like when I say I have a auntie that she just recently passed, 104, long life, healthy life, loved her to death.
Ooh.
When we went up to her funeral, and that's a celebration. 104 is good, and she was healthy and
Mhm.
strong minded almost all of that time. Now, I went up to this
Mhm.
to you know in her house with all of the rest of my family members. And I don't ever volunteer my perspective, but people kind of know my perspective, so they kind of ask me questions. And they asked me, it was like, well,
Mhm.
how can you say there is no God when you see the heavens and the earth and all of these things? And
Look at the trees.
I mean, whatever. And so I told them, and I gave them the spiel that I'll probably discuss a little bit more. I don't know how long this interview is. And I just tell them, like, I look for things that are evidence based. I talk about some of the problems that I have in our community as far as dependence on the religion, and how it helps us to not be as independent as we could be, and other things like that. So me myself, I have really thick skin. And a lot of people, I mean, I have colleagues, I have friends, and they are good friends and they love me and I love them. And they try to convince me that one day I'm going to wake up and have the belief system that they have, whatever their religion is. And I say, well, okay. So it's just getting to the point where um, if anyone tries to, I guess, convert me, then I just kind of hold it back. And I know this is a little bit hard for my mom in particular, because she was a very good Christian woman. She still is. She loves us. She raised us well. And she might see it as a sign that she raised us not as well as
Wrong.
we think.
Mhm.
Wrong, right? Because I grew up to be agnostic. And, I have sympathy for my mother, but to say that I believe something other than I believe would be lying to her and lying to me. And the people that I love, I shouldn't have to lie to.
Mhm. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. Like I'm the same way. I do not volunteer that information, but if you ask me, you ask me. You know what I mean?
If
But
you
in
ask
one
me,
of
you're going to get the answer. Like,
you're
and,
gonna get
and
the
I am
answer
asked a
exactly.
lot. I am asked
Hmm.
a lot. I am asked by certain business colleagues. Sometimes I'm like, we're working on a contract, and they're just like, Arlinda, are you a woman of faith? And I'm just like,
No.
no. No is a whole answer, right? That's a whole
Mhm.
sentence, as I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what I mean, the same thing. Be like, oh, you went to church yesterday? No. I mean,
At
oh,
times.
you don't go to church? No. You don't believe? No. Like, how much more are you gonna ask? No, I'm not into that. And it's the same thing. I don't volunteer the information because, like, when it comes to my family, I always say this: we should have been a family of lawyers, because when I say that every single one of us will argue you down, every single one of us, it's not just my dad. Both my sisters are the same way. My mom is the same way. Mom was a little nicer with it. At some point, she just give up. But my mom's the same way. My uncles, everybody will argue you down. You know what I mean? So on both sides of the family too. So when it comes to that, the reason why I think they stopped asking me about it is because every single time it will become an argument. You know what I mean? So it's always, especially if I bring up slavery. Once I bring that up, all hell breaks loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Once I bring that up,
yeah.
all hell's break loose, and it is
Slavery is
a
the
little
Bible's
difficult.
jam, isn't it?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Crazy had another question. He said, or they said, do you find yourself fluctuating between agnostic, atheist, and anti-theist? Specifically, have you ever found yourself feeling anger towards the Abrahamic God? I would say for me, when I came out of religion, I did go through the angry atheist phase. That was actually gonna be my next follow up question for you. If you went through that angry phase, because I did go through that, because no one likes being lied to. So when I did come out the faith, I was like, I felt that I was lied to this entire time. Like, y'all was punking me this whole time. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I don't have to believe in this to be a good person. Like, yo, there really is no evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. Like, yo, Noah's Ark is bullshit. Like, this is all just crap stories, So I kind of
And
went through that phase of being upset. How about you?
I did not actually.
Mm,
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. I believe that lies have to be intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, now don't get me wrong, people can be wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the religious people who are in my life, they are telling me the truth from their perspective. They believe these things which I find inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
So when I don't get mad at the Abrahamic God. I get mad at the people who use a religion to put down other people, who follow the parts of the religions that they want to follow and disregard the parts of the religions that they don't want to follow. Um, I told my mother, one of the other things that I told my mother when I was having these discussions about agnosis. One of these days I'm gonna find out what that word is, being agnostic, is I told her that it's hard for me to find, I guess, solidarity with a religion that was spread using so much violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and it these religions, I mean, if we're talking about the African American perspective, these religions were taught to us, whether they be right or wrong. I'm going to reiterate that I am agnostic, right? Whether they
Mm-hmm.
be right or wrong, they were taught to us to help make us a little bit more docile. They pulled the
Mm-hmm.
portions out of the Bible that said obey your masters, but not the portions out of the Bible that talked about how masters should treat their slaves, for example. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in slavery at all, but I actually did read the Bible, and there are
Right.
lots of parts of the Bible that we don't talk about. So here's my thing, to answer the question very directly. I have never been atheist. I have always been agnostic. And the reason that I will never say that I'm atheist is because I believe that being an atheist actually means that you know, and I do not know. And until I know, until I wake up after death and I see what the truth is, I'm not going to know. Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, that actually is very astute, very true. That's how I actually came out of my whole angry phase when I started to realize that these people are telling me to, just like how you said, the truth from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they want to lie to me, is that they really do believe that this is what the truth is, and they're trying to genuinely, save me. You know what I mean? Just like how
And
you
a lot
said.
of times, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt you.
No, no, it's all good. And a lot of times I find myself being angry on behalf of Christians or behalf of Muslims, especially when I see scammers. You know what I mean? Prosperity preachers. There's even prosperity preachers over on the Muslim side, which is what I was surprised about. Those exist too. And I get angry for Christians. I'm like, yo, you actually, these are, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, people who genuinely believe in this thing that is going to help them, and you're bilking them for it. You know what I mean? You're taking people's rent money, you're taking people's credit card money, you're taking people's grocery shopping money over over a theology that's not even in your book. Prosperity gospel is not in the Bible. It's not there. You know what I mean? So it's not even in the book, but these people actually believe it. You know what I mean? I find myself getting angry on behalf of Christians because, like, why y'all scamming these people? You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's like, if you're going to do something with it, do something productive, not scam old women out of their milk money.
yeah. I think that I do not like, I do not like the prosperity gospel. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why I do not like it is because there's this idea that if you had money or if you received money, then you must have been a better person. And I think that that is a really dangerous premise to have. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes things just happen. And the other thing, I've talked to some Christians that I know about the prevalence of scams in the church. Now, my theory is religious people in general are taught to accept things without evidence. And if you're taught to accept things without evidence and somebody comes in with a pyramid scheme, you don't challenge yourself to how that would actually work because you're trained to say, oh, bada bing, it works. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have seen many scams go through several churches that that are trained that way. And see what is the
Mm-hmm.
Is this a question for me?
Oh no, it's not a question. It's just one of the comments that I think is very important because it's going to lead into my next question for you when it comes to about being a black woman and being out here and being a non-believer. Now, just like how you said, I want you because I want you to continue what you were saying. Just like how you were saying, I have been in those type of teaching courses basically on how they teach you how to get to the emotions of people. You know what I mean? And like it always made me uncomfortable was like, man, you're kind of being manipulative, aren't you? You know what I mean? Because I grew up during a time where in my late teens and early 20s, that's when the sneaker preacher started coming out. You know what I mean? So of course they're gonna get to the youth. You know what I mean? If you were a preacher, you got your earrings on, you got your tats. You know what I mean? Sometimes a lot of them be having dreads and everything like that. And I grew up, West Indian and Haitian culture. Earrings, tattoos, and dreadlocks were the devil. Yeah, you know what I mean? Which is
Mhm.
kind of crazy. But West Indians are like that, like tattoos, earrings, because tattoos, because the church said not to have tattoos in the Bible. Earrings because they're for women, and dreadlocks because it's associated with criminals. You know what I mean? So that's why having those three combinations down in the West Indies is, yeah, I mean, it was bad. But you come over to America and you start to see that the preachers, especially the young ones, what do they have? They have earrings, they have dreadlocks, they have tattoos. So I'm like, okay, I could be that. You know, I mean, of course, the dreadlocks didn't work out for me. It didn't work. But I thought that I could be that. You know,
Mhm.
um, and I started to go to these type of classes and stuff like that. I'm like, man, they're really teaching you kind of how to be manipulative. You know what I mean? Just say, make sure when you're preaching this, when you have this, make sure you play this type of music. Make sure you play that type of music. You know what I mean? Make sure you do altar call for this type of person. And one person told me something that I never forget. He said, every single time there's always going to be someone who's going through something. He said, yo, we live in a black community. Someone's going to be going through alcoholism, drug problems, a mother missing, a father missing. Someone's going to be going through that in your church. Just mention it and someone will come up. And I'm like, wow, they know how to get to the pinpoint.
Well,
They
see,
know
here's
how
the
to get
thing.
there. And
I mean, I get you, but even that, like, if they're coming from a pure place, then I
Mhm.
get it. Because if we take religion complete, like from their perspective, they're trying to keep us from burning in a lake of fire forever, right?
Right.
So if we were to take the religion completely out of it and we were trying to, I don't know, convert people to vote or any of those type of things, we would have very similar conversations. We would say, you know what, but this is how we reach the people and this is the music that they like and all this kind of stuff. So here's my thing, like, I completely acknowledge that there are scammers and manipulative people in many religious settings, but one of the things that I do well is separate. I think I am pretty good at being objective when it comes to like religion. And for example, I actually went to it's not Bible study, but the Baha'i faith,
Baha'i.
B. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, if I was inclined to be a religious person, I might have considered them,
Hmm.
because I might be wrong. Please don't quote me. I'm not a religious scholar, but the Baha'i faith believes that many of the different religious figures in other religious traditions were prophets, and so they pretty much bring all of the prophets from the other religions, and it makes their religion.
Hmm.
So it might be monotheism or whatever, but either way, they're basically saying that God has sent prophets in all these different forms through all these different times, and it's part of our religion, right? So I actually went to the Bible. It's not a Bible, but I actually went to the study for their religious text, and I
Hmm.
really enjoyed it
Hmm.
because I really enjoyed it. So here's why I'm saying that is I tend to not have as much problem as some other agnostic people, because I actually interact with a lot of different people of a lot of different traditions, and I don't go in and say you're wrong because that's illogical and how could you believe that. If
Hmm.
they ask me my opinion, I'm going to say that I base things off of evidence, and I don't see the evidence that that we should worship a God in this way, and I believe that these religious texts are tainted too much by man's interpretations, and we are like, those are the types of things that I say. So as the person who mentioned the comment, I think the implication was, how much do I struggle being agnostic as a Black woman? Um, and frankly, I kind of don't like, but I am probably a slightly special individual. I just give no gosh darns about what people think of me. I live my life. I don't worry about representing Black women. Like I made a comment the other day that some people tip more at a restaurant with bad service because they are afraid that someone's going to think that Black people are bad tippers. And I say I represent Arlinda. And if you give me bad service, you're going to get a bad tip. If you give me excellent service, you're going to get a good tip. And I don't care about what anybody else thinks. So I've been living my life for a very long time, questioning everything, pushing back on everything. I literally was sitting in the Church of God in Christ church, and they said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "No, I'm agnostic." And they said, "Okay." And we went on with our business. Now, sometimes people try to save me, convince me, all those types of things. When they go too far, I just politely put my hand up and I say, "Okay, that's enough. We'll stop this conversation, or I just won't come back." I do not struggle with the idea of being agnostic as a Black woman, except for the loneliness.
There we go. And that's what I was gonna get to. Yeah. I wanted to get to two things. Number one, the an actual like community. One of the reasons why I do this,
Okay. You're muted, Volsy Thoughts.
all right,
I
let
can hear
me
you now.
give me a, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, we're good. All right, cool. We're back on it. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, so when it comes to the loneliness, one of the reasons why I started this entire series, and one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I started adding more people to the our as Black atheists, and one of the reasons why I'm doing the Black Atheist Skeptics and Humanists Cookout going down next year in Florida, 2026 in June. Yeah, that's a shameful plug. I'm sorry, that's a shameful plug. All right, so
Oh, taking the South.
what?
I'm listening.
One of the reasons why I started that is because of that, the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things when I first came out of the whole angry atheist phase, and I started to have more discussions with people, one thing I realized is that there's not a lot of us, right? Because especially in America, uh 80 to 90% of Black people in America are some sort of Christian or Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a trope that even on TV or even in your real life anywhere, if you're a Black person, they expect you to be some sort of Christian or Muslim. You know what I mean? So it's such a trope with us. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing in West Indian culture. You know what I mean? My wife's Jamaican. Yeah, I mean, same thing with her. I'm Haitian. It's the same thing with us. Yeah, I mean, you're expected to be some sort of Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons why I started this is to have that community. And I think that's what people mean when it says, when it comes to being Black and being agnostic or being an atheist, it gets tough because we're not really around a lot of like-minded people, because
Mm-hmm.
most Black people that we're going to be around will believe in something else. You know what I mean? So finding a community. First, we're going to talk about that, finding a community. Then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to talk about the romance part, because the romance part I really want to get to. But let's talk about finding the community. When you first became out, I don't want you to age yourself or anything like that, but when you first started to not believe anymore, I think with me, I had the age of the internet, so it was like even with the internet, it was kind of hard to find, but
Mm-hmm.
we was able to find it. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who became agnostic or atheist like in the 90s. Social media didn't exist. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So how was it back then that you came out, or not came out, or started to become agnostic and start to start searching for community, or how hard was it to find that community?
Um, I think it was. I think it was like moderately difficult to find the community. Now, the thing is, because I grew up in the Christian church, when I was looking for community, I would go through the Christian ways. I was in the gospel church, I mean, the gospel choir in college. I like joined several different groups because here's the thing, what I actually wanted from community was a community of Black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was difficult for me to find a community of Black people. And so I knew one place where there would be a community of Black people, and that was Black churches, right?
Churches.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so so that's why I still went to these communities even as an agnostic. But when it comes to finding an agnostic community, frankly, the server that we're on and certain other groups is kind of the closest that I've gotten to an agnostic or atheist community that I can actually talk to. Because, I mean, if we're going to be real in the room, sometimes I also don't find communities in the atheist groups, right? Because like I said, I'm agnostic, which means I don't know what the truth is, and one day after I die, maybe I'll find out, or poof, I won't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes even in the atheist groups, we are so caught up in they're wrong, they're stupid, they're this, they're that, and that's also off-putting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, finding that unique place that I fit, where someone like me, which is who is open-minded to have conversations with other people with religions, with not automatically snapping them down, not being in a way an evangelist myself for atheists, that was difficult, and it still is difficult. All that said, because I've always been, or most of my life, as far as I know, have been this forthright, direct person, I actually have a lovely group of friends that love me as I am. Some of them probably think that I might go to hell, whatever, but they love me as I am, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess all of those words to say, find what I want in a community is a community where I can have people that kind of share my culture. So when I'm talking about Black American, African American, Caribbean American, because we have very similar cultures, right? So
Mm-hmm.
someone who can share our culture, but then in addition to that, someone I can actually talk to that will give me advice, or that will give me concrete solutions if I need that. Because my religious people that I associate with, often if I have a concern or a problem, they give me nothing. They give me pray on it. That's
Mm-hmm.
really my only issue. Okay, I can't come to you because you're just going to say pray on it. And what I really need somebody to say is, I don't know, look at your resume and contact these people. Instead, it's just like pray on it. And
Pray on it. Mm-hmm.
that's the part that I don't like. So I guess all those words to say, it has been difficult for me to find a like-minded but also open-minded agnostic slash atheist group. The group that I met you through is turning out to be like a really good group. So
Mm-hmm.
I do like that group, but it's hard. But I'm also one of those people who believe that community is what you make it. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a community, you go out there and form it. Because as someone who doesn't believe a higher power is going to do this for me, I have to do it for myself. So when I need a community, I go out there and I find it myself. I talk to people. I am open with my beliefs. You'd be surprised how many agnostic people are sitting right next to you, but because all of you all have been taught to be ashamed or to keep your agnostic belief system to yourself, you don't even know. Like that
Mm-hmm.
person sitting right next to you at the office, that person that is on your badminton team, they also have a personal belief system that says, I am not sure that a higher power exists. But they
Mm-hmm.
can't say it because in our culture, if you say that, people they perceive that people are going to come after them. They perceive that people are all going to try to come and try to save them. But if all of us were just open with who we are and just take the brunt of it, you'd be surprised. There are so many people who have shaken faith system. They are shaken in their faith systems, or they just
Mhm.
don't believe outright, but they can't tell anybody. They can't tell their spouses. They can't tell their family because, oh my God, they're going to think I'm evil now. I don't
Mhm.
have that problem. If my family or someone decides not to love me, or I guess I'm just going to move on with my life. But so far, I have a wonderful and accepting family, so everybody accepts me as I am, and it's also
Mhm.
great. And hold up, and maybe that's one of the issues. Maybe because I do have an accepting family that still invites me to the cookouts, and my mother, she's going to pray for me every once in a while. I have a dot of blessed oil on my forehead. It's just
Yeah,
oil.
man, of course.
It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah, I completely agree, right? Because my family's the same way, like very loving family. Even though they find out that I don't believe, I always told them like I'm surprised that y'all didn't figure this out sooner because I was always a critic of the Bible, right? So I'm surprised y'all figured it out sooner. But very loving family, you know what I mean? Like I just saw my parents, for my birthday. We went back down to Miami
Mm-hmm.
to visit. I went there for my birthday and everything like that. So we still saw my family. We're still planning, Thanksgiving. So they're gonna come up to excuse me, to where I live for Thanksgiving this year because we
Mm-hmm.
switch families every year. Like sometimes we go down there, sometimes they come up here, sometimes we travel to New York for one of my aunts. You know what I mean? So that's how we do for Thanksgiving. And same thing, loving family, loving communities. My best friend who I met in church, still my best friend today. You know what I mean? I was the best man at his wedding. He's the best man at mine. You know what I mean? So it's always one of those things where we kind of accept each other, and I want everyone to have that. But then I do hear of those stories where people don't, their families don't receive that. You know what I mean? Their families either stop talking to them or like completely disown them. You know what I mean? All of because of they're not religious. And I think just like how you said, that fear of I'm going to lose my community is what keeps a lot of us in. It's the same thing for me. It was the same thing for me. Like the one of the I probably stopped believing maybe around 26 years old, but I didn't truly let myself admit that until I was about 30 or 31
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, what am I gonna do if I leave this religion? You know what I mean? I have nowhere to go. I can't go back to the church. I can't visit some other church. You know what I mean? And because I don't believe this anymore, so I technically can't be there. But then
Mm-hmm.
I figured out, actually, yeah, I can. I just can walk in anywhere I want. No one's going to stop me, right? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There's no, Wizard of Oz water that's going to drop on me. I'm going to melt being the witch. That's not going to happen. So it was one of those things where I had to figure out like I can still have that community, but the difficult part that came in was the romance. Because
Okay.
one thing I would say about black folks that I've always said was when it comes to black women
Mm-hmm.
love them some Jesus, and when it comes to black men, we love being the messenger. You know what I mean? Like black men, we love being the messenger of Jesus, and black women love them some Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So out there in the dating scene, it was extremely difficult because I'll always meet women that would say, "Oh, well, you don't believe in this. Well, we can't be anything serious, but come over every Saturday." You know what I mean? It got to a point where I was like, "Y'all, I don't want just that." You know what I mean? I want that actual love. I want to be part of someone's life. I want to have, you know, a wife and children and family. I want that one day for myself. You feel me? And I know for a lot of the atheist men that I've met, they've all said the same thing, especially in the black dating scene. They've all said, yeah, it was like that. A lot of the women were like, just come over every Saturday, but we can't take nothing serious.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard from when it comes to black atheist women, it's kind of similar, even though the relationship would start, but then he'll throw in, let's go to church and try to convert you type of stuff. Has it been the same for you? I'm pretty sure you're probably married already and everything like that, but
Yeah,
as
I'm married. I've been married
Mhm.
for a minute, and I also didn't have any problems. I met my partner online, and it was very clear that I was not a theist. He was not a theist,
Mhm.
and it was just it's just the way it went. Like, and when I was going through the profiles, I literally was. They would say, I put God first in my life. I'm like, all right. reject, and that's all it was. Like like I didn't have any issues. Like, and so I guess I push. I know that it's hard when we see all of these people and we're like, they're not an option for us. But we only need one, right? Or I guess more if you're in other relationship structures, right? But you only need a number of people that you need. Why does it matter that 10, 20, 30 people that you met are not compatible with you? You just talk to the people that you're compatible with. And if you're actually upfront with it, and you actually stay to your goals, then you don't have to worry about it. Like those women that are coming to you saying we'll never be serious, but let's, not you, in the past, we'll
Right,
never
right.
be serious, but let's do this on Saturday. Like, if you're wasting your time with them, then that's on you all, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a goal, you put yourself up front. This is my belief system. I believe in good credit. I don't know if there's a God or not. Like, I believe in always telling the truth, and I'm always going to be upfront with you. And whatever your belief system structure is, you put that out, and you only match with people that you match with. Like, there are different, I mean, for example, there's I have seen, like, there'll be in the past, and they might say, somebody might say something like, you're pretty for a black girl, or some
Mm-hmm.
random crap, right? And I just give no gosh darn, you're not for me, and I X you off the list, and I move on to somebody
Move
else.
on to the next.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
literally that simple. We spend a lot of time we spend a lot of time just worrying about the people who don't want us. Just go find the people that are for you. And that's for all of the things. Like, I know that for example, I really don't drink. I might
Mm-hmm.
have I don't have anything morally against it, but I don't like losing control of my faculties, and I'm a lightweight since I don't drink, so therefore I don't drink. But I might have 2 or 3 alcoholic beverages in a year. And
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people say, well, I don't, there's nothing to do anymore because I don't drink, and everybody wants to go to the bar. And I'm like, those not your people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
You gotta find your tribe.
those not your people. You find your tribe, and it might be fewer, and you might just need to be selective, but you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that I got lucky. I'm looking at this comment. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Here's the thing. I might have gotten lucky,
Mm-hmm.
but I also didn't meet this person until I was 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, is that luck, or is that waiting to find the person who's aligned with what I'm aligned with, and seeing that compatibility, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same with me. I didn't meet my wife until I was about, hey, when we met, 30. Yeah, I was 33. There we go. I was 33, and I'm 37 now. So it took, yeah, it took some time. Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of time. And we, same thing with you. We met online, and I told her up front, because I was tired of, we can't be serious, but come over on Saturdays. I was tired of that. I was tired of the immediate unmatching block when I told her I'm not a believer. I was tired of that. So I just kind of, the first thing I said was like, "Hey, I'm not a believer." You know what I mean? I just told that before, and she was like, "Oh, that's cool. I practice Obia," and I was like, "What's Obia?" She was like, "Oh, you Haitian?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Haitian." She said, "Oh, it's similar to voodoo, only on the Jamaican side." So I like, "Oh, you practice African traditional religion?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, awesome. I want to learn more about African traditional religions, because, like, what were we doing before we were Christian and Muslim? We're doing something else. You know what I mean? So I want to learn more about those, and she was able to teach me a lot about those, and that's kind of where we connected, because I knew a lot about African history, and I was also talking about the different empires back then and stuff like that, and she was really interested in that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And I told her, "Oh, these are some of the similarities between some of our cultures," and it was great. So it's like, it's always meet someone that you're aligned with. Now, I have seen, people who are like vanilla Christians and being with someone who's agnostic or atheist. Yeah, I mean, vanilla Christians, we all know what that is. They go to church on Christmas and Easter. That's basically it. So it's those sometimes work because they're really don't care. Yeah, I mean, but the other times where it's like when they're super religious, as some people have said in the comments, it kind of doesn't work. But just like how you said, a lot of times you just have to wait on it and meet the person that you meet. But yeah, in the dating scene, right, especially right now when it comes to the gender wars, it's
Yeah, I don't participate in the gender wars. Even like Reddit is pretty much the social media that I don't know if I was supposed to say that. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This is my first time doing one of these. Anyway, but there are social media platforms that I just enjoy. And when they start the gender war bull crap, all men this, all women that, I just shut it all down.
shut off,
And I
subscribe.
wanted to say something about your blocking the unfollow and block or whatever you were talking about. That is my best friend. I'm gonna tell you, when I was okay, so this is a story. When I was in high school, I had a crush on a guy, and we would be talking back and forth, like really good conversations. And then one day I called him after not calling him for a while. And he's like, well, what you want? He's like, yeah, that was back when we remember phone numbers. I'm aging myself. And I said, oh, I just didn't want to forget your phone number. I just want to keep in touch. And he said, oh, you can forget my phone number. I was like, we didn't have the video calls back then. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh,
I
sat there I said, okay, no problem. I put the phone down and I sat there for a second. I thought, he just did me a favor. Now I know that he is not on my list. I crossed him off. And what was funny is when I went to high school, like the next day, like he didn't want to talk to me. He doesn't exist. So I just went on with my life. He's not one of the guys that I'm going to end up dating, right? And then he was like, hey, you don't see me here? And I'm like, oh, hey. And I was confused because you told me not to talk to you anymore.
I want to talk to you anymore. Yeah.
Is the reason why I'm even telling that story. I'm telling a lot of my business. It works. The reason why I'm even telling that story is because who cares? They do you a favor. Instead of wasting time to become there every Saturday or whatever you were talking about, they move on. You move on. Life is that way. I think that it is difficult to find like-minded people. We are raised in a system that has a faith system. It was put into our culture. It was about the only thing that was acceptable by our various masters over our not genetic, that's the wrong word, over our history, right? So it makes sense that there are a lot of us and it is hard to find us, but we need to hold out and we also need to be open with who we are. The problem really is that we are looking at quantity, but not worrying about the quality that would actually match us. Like I promise you that if I walked around, I don't know, let's say half naked, something like that, I'll probably get a lot of people coming to me, right? I'll probably get a lot of people coming to me over that conservative person who is, whatever. But what about the quality of who's going to come to me? I know that that's an old argument, but it was the only thing that I could think of in this moment. I give no gosh darn who doesn't want me. I only need the people who are compatible with me, and I need to go where they go, and I need to make a community to find them if I don't have one. If I need to drive to the next urban city to meet the 3 agnostic Black people there, I'm going to do it because that's how important it is for me, because we don't have faith systems. Without faith systems, we have to get off our butt and go and do it, because there is no higher power that we believe that is going to do it for us, whatever that means. And in every aspect of our life, we need to do the most proactive thing to move and shape our faiths.
Someone in the Discord says that you give off those wise matriarchal vibes, and yeah, I think we're gonna make Arlinda the matriarch of the black atheism, y'all, because man, the wisdom, y'all. I haven't said a word this entire interview. The wisdom. Excuse me. The wisdom. That's why I definitely want to get to this comment that Annie put in about an hour ago. She asked, what are some things you would tell other Black atheists about their journey? I'll
Okay.
let you go first, Arlinda, and then I'll go
Oh, I'm
next.
sorry. Okay, thank you. The one of the first things that I tell people, and I usually get, let's say, downvoted on a social media site or something like that. The one thing that I tell people is that you came to your conclusion on your own time.
Hmm.
You have to let other people come to their conclusion on their own time, or you will never relate to each other. So if you woke up and decided that you were atheist or agnostic at the age of 26, and then suddenly you're turning around looking at everybody else, like, how can you believe that something doesn't exist? I'm going to push back at you because you're going to have the patience that you wish somebody had with you. And
Hmm.
and also, as if you're not trying to convert people, you just trying to live, then it's okay. So I would tell other Black atheists, there are others like you. You will not find them if you are hiding that truth about yourself. Because if everybody believes that you are a Christian, they're going to treat you like a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever your religion is. You have to start by being open to yourself. Now, I do understand that there are certain consequences to that. One of the consequences might be your relationship with your family. You might have a job that believes that you shouldn't be there if you're not a Christian, and atheism and agnostic belief systems are not protected under the law in general, right?
Hmm.
So there are consequences, but we will continue to be lonely if we are afraid to tell people who we are. And
Hmm.
so, my advice to you is let people come to their conclusion as they come to their conclusion. Try not to be the one that is insisting everybody's stupid because they have a belief system. I mean, if we think about it, it's kind of a good gamble, right? Like the gamble is I believe in this thing and I get to a heaven, or I don't believe in this thing and I either go to hell or non-existent. Like if I'm a
Hmm.
bad person, I might as well be religious because
Hmm.
I won't know until the end anyway. Anyway, I'm back.
Hmm.
So
Gotcha.
that was a little bit of a digression. Be yourself. Get out there. Um, don't try to convert people just like you don't want people to convert you. Just be happy. I'm going to tell you the biggest flex for an agnostic or atheist person is to be
Be
happy with
happy.
your lack of faith. If you are
Hmm.
happy in your lack of faith, that is more of a testimony to everybody else than it would be to say, hey, how can you not believe that? Or what faith? Or what, you think a funny man, and all of that is going to take people away from you. Exist, be happy, live
Hmm.
your life. That's going to convert more people than you ever thought.
Hmm. Exactly. It does. I appreciate that, Arlinda. There are three things I would say. Number one, it does get better. It does get better because I know for a lot of people who are religious and they leave their religion, there are a lot of more like me. We leave very, very confused, disoriented, a lot of times very, very bitter and angry.
Mm-hmm.
Things get better. Things do get better. Even though I know in the beginning it's isolating. It's very, very isolating. The second thing I was gonna say is that we are out there. Yeah, I mean, believe us, we are out there.
Okay.
There is a community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there is a community of us out there that will um be there for you, that will get you
Mm-hmm.
through it. And we do know that there are some times where um your first loss after deconverting is gonna be your hardest one because you've always believed all your life that you're going to see that person again. Now you're on the side of you may not never see that person again, or you know you're never seeing that person again because there's no afterlife. That's going to be difficult. It's going to be very hard to get through that because I lost my uncle about 3-4 years ago. About excuse me, about a year after I deconverted, I lost one of my uncles. So that was very difficult to deal with. You know what I mean? So but so those are two things. We're around, and it was the community that actually helped me through it. Being part of the community, it helped me get through it, grief beyond belief. Especially a few months ago, me and my wife actually lost One of we actually had a tragedy a few months ago. If you're in any of my Facebook groups, you know what happened to me and her. But that was especially hard to deal with. Like parents never want to deal with something like that, you know. So that was especially hard to deal with. You see what I'm saying? But grief beyond belief helped me out a lot with it. You know what I mean? The when you have that community, that's why I'm gonna say that number two is the most important one. We're all here. Yeah, I mean, we're all here and we're gonna be here for you through everything. You know what I mean? If you lose friends, we can be your friends. If you lose loved ones, we'll be your loved ones. You know what I mean? We can help you through it. So those are the two main things that I would say. It gets better. We're all of us are here. There's a group of us. And the third thing I would say is the Black Atheist Skeptics and Humanist Cookout is going down in Florida in 2026. So y'all better make it out. Y'all better make it out. All right. If you can, of course, if you can. If you can't, we'll do something for 2028. All right. Oh man, Arlinda, this is a wonderful interview. I do really appreciate you being here. We got a few more questions. All right. We do have a few more questions. I have another
I've got
one.
as much time as you got.
Gotcha. I got another one from Crazy where they ask, do you have hope for the future of the Black community as far as growth and continual success, partially due to the increasing number of people leaving the church? That's an interesting one. I like that one a lot.
Okay.
I like that one a lot. Okay, we're gonna get to that last question as well. And I have a question over on my TikTok. We'll get to brown skin question. Brown skin girl, I got you on my TikTok. We'll get your question in a second. But for this one, yeah, Arlinda, what do you think?
I I do have a hope for the future, and I do like the idea that we are starting to feel more free leaving the church. My hope is that we don't supplant a religious system for another judgmental system.
Mm-hmm.
We can sometimes it's not religious based, but we can sometimes be just as judgmental as certain religious people in a way. And I think about as what I want for us is a community where people can just be themselves, whatever that form is. The thought that I had was, for example, homophobia, right? Now, there is a religious tradition that is against homosexual people, etc., right? But there is also something that a lot of us in the Black community tend to be more okay with than we should. So if we're having this Black cookout in the parking lot after we have left the church, if we make sure that in this we are allowing people to be themselves in whatever form that is, then that's the future that I will have hope for. So if we can allow a man to have pink fingernail polish, if we can allow a person to, I don't know, listen to Bach and do things that aren't stereotypically Black. There are things in our culture that we try to gatekeep. And so I do have a lot of hope that we have a future in leaving the church, as long as we don't keep some of the judgmental things that we associated with the church as we do it. Oh.
Gotcha. All right, just to let you know, I didn't want to interrupt you, but the signal was a little bit bad. You were kind of cut in and out a little bit. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
shoot.
But yeah, I actually do agree with you with what you're saying, because I was surprised that yeah, no problem. But I was surprised that when I started joining more like atheist Facebook groups and things like that, you will find a lot of people there that still now I'm going out. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. You'll still find a lot of people in a lot of these groups that are still misogynist, patriarchal,
Exactly.
homophobic. Even within agnosticism and atheism, you'll find that. You know what I'm saying? So deconstructing from religion means you need to deconstruct from like all all of the beliefs that religion gave you as well. You know what I mean? If you believe in quote unquote, traditional marriages or whatever, like, it's fine, but always know that where it came from was the source, was the thing that you deconstructed from. Basically, the entire idea of man is the head of the house came from this Christian mindset. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell people to make sure that you deconstruct from all of that. You know what I mean? And if you end up still believing that the best way to have a marriage is for the man to be the head or whatever, yeah, sure, I think that's ridiculous. But find someone that aligns with that, and the person that's going to align with that is most likely going to be another Christian. You know what I'm saying? So it's
And I want
I would say that to people.
And I want to push back just a tiny bit.
But
The only thing that I'm going to push back is that what we often find is that we often find that religions are kind of a reflection of culture, right? And what I mean by that is that we all know, as someone who's read the Bible as much as I have, we all know that we cherry pick the phrases in the Bible to fit what we already believe. So what I want to say is, yes, the religions are founded in a type of patriarchy. There are things there that aren't aligned with what I believe, correct? But the one thing that I will say is it feels like they are expressing an overarching cultural belief system as opposed to just causing it. Now, so I'm not taking the blame away from the religion, but what I want us to understand is that the religions express what we want, the how we interact with these religions, how we serve, what we study. Those are actually reflections of what we believe. So sometimes if you leave the church, you're not going to leave patriarchy behind, because the men
you're
who
not.
are in power want to stay in power, and the religion was a mechanism to do that. So we just
Exactly.
need to be careful. Okay. All right.
No, no, I 100% agree with you, because we live in that type of system, so we're always gonna like have it. Is because for me, I always assumed once you deconstruct from one thing, you should deconstruct from everything else, and that's not necessarily true. I had to learn that's not true. You know what I mean? Like, these are just like how someone said in the comments. These are social constructs that can exist outside of religion. Like, there are a lot of atheists who voted for Trump. You know what I mean? They may not look like us, but they are atheists and they voted for Trump. You know what I mean?
It's just
So
one
it's
piece of the culture.
exactly, it's a piece of the culture. Yeah. So 100% agreed. Let's bring up you saw what I brought up, right? The Satanic Temple.
Yeah,
All right, there
I
we
actually
go.
kind of
There
like
it
that
is.
question.
I really
Okay,
do
so
like
here's
it.
all right. I actually like that question. Okay, this is why I like that question. I like what the Satanic Temple does. And this is
Mhm.
why. Now, if you actually talk to the members of the Satanic Temple, they don't actually believe in Satan. They don't
Right.
actually, most of them are atheists or agnostic. What they're saying is it's more like a malicious compliance, right? They're saying, oh, we have religious freedom, so all of us have religious freedom. I don't want to like mess it up for them, but I'm sure some of them might believe satanic, whatever, whatever. Anyway, but a lot of the times they're basically saying if we have religious freedom, then my religion is just as valid as yours, right? So if you get to teach the Bible and the Ten Commandments to the little children after school, then I get to teach the satanic verses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really, in my opinion, not being a religious scholar or a scholar in the Satanic Temple, in my opinion, that's what they're doing. They most of them, most of them, as far as the ones that I have, seen and on the internet, they're not trying to get us to worship Satan. They're trying to show what the dangers of a theocratic system, and they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it with malicious compliance. And I think that strategy is awesome, because if you're going to indoctrinate children with what you believe, then I'm going to indoctrinate children with what I believe. And I'm ready for the spaghetti god people to come in and, hey, I want to indoctrinate children in the spaghetti god too. That's why I love what they're doing, because sometimes the best resistance is compliance. A long time ago, Ronald Reagan put the highways at all 55 miles per hour. And people were angry. That's just too slow. That's just too slow. And they were just like, you're gonna have to deal with it. So what they did is everybody as a protest went 55 miles per hour. And the
Mhm.
highways were log jammed and couldn't nobody get anywhere. And so they were like, oh, well, maybe we need to change this. In
Yeah.
my opinion, that's what the Satanic Temple is doing. If your religion can be broadcast, so can mine. How do you like that? Now, how do you think I feel? So I love that question. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I love it because like it's the same thing with me. Like I kind of love what they're doing. You know what I mean, because they're all about, you know, just like how you said, compliance. Yeah, I mean we're gonna go ahead and comply to what you said, because I love that the fact that they bring up the fact that one of the things that was happening, you know, all around the country when Roe v. Wade was overturned,
Mm-hmm.
around the country there were people were putting laws in place, or these governors were putting laws in place to restrict women's access to contraceptives. You know what I mean, and restricting their reproductive rights. What the Satanic Temple started doing was starting to sue by saying that in our religion a woman has full reproductive rights and
Mm-hmm.
full rights to have an abortion, which or full rights to achieve or to obtain contraceptives. So
Mm-hmm.
you making those laws goes against my religion.
Right.
You know, so which is I think is one of the best things I've seen. As a matter of fact, I think one of the main reasons we even got gay marriage was because the Satanic Temple was saying laws against it was against my religion. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it started to bring all these things up, which is what I really really love. And one thing that I wanted to share
Mm-hmm.
was this screen, the tenets of Satanism, where they have all these tenets. You know, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. The struggle for justice is ongoing and necessary. Pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inconceivable, subject to one's will alone. These are pretty good tenets, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I mean? People always say you need Jesus. Maybe y'all need y'all some Satan. You know what I mean? Maybe y'all need some Satan, because these are some pretty good tenets. I kind of love them. You know what I mean? I kind of love them. All right. Let's move on to the next question. All right. So over on my TikTok, you won't be able to see it because I can't share that. But over
Understood.
on my TikTok, brown skin girl asks a very important question. She asks, "How do you deal with the emotion of losing people you care about?" That one is tough. I am studying to be a mental health professional. One thing that can be very traumatic is losing someone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even losing someone that they die, like you're never gonna see them again. Even friendship breakups can be kind of traumatic. You know what I mean? Even friendship breakups can be one of those things that really, really hurt. You know what I mean? Especially when you've built a relationship with that person over decades. I recently went through that. A friend of mine decided that we can't be friends anymore for some stupid reason, right? And that one really hurt because we were friends for 15 years. You know what I mean? But the way to get through that is, one of the cliches is time does heal wounds,
Mm-hmm.
which is true. You know what I mean, you got to give yourself time, and you have to, what I always say is also reassess. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Go through your entire friendship and ask yourself, was that a real friendship? Or go to the relationship that you went through and ask yourself, was that a relationship that you should have been in the first place? You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like reassess everything. Go through it. Don't take yourself through the trauma again, but think about if this relationship was conducive to your life. Did it add anything or did it take away anything? You know what I mean? Or was there a relationship that existed for no reason? Because one thing I've always say is that you shouldn't be friends or being in a relationship or romantic relationship with someone for absolutely no reason. There should be a reason why you're with them, right? You're friends with this person because they make you laugh, because you have certain interests in case
Mm-hmm.
in the certain interests. You have same sort of intellectual pursuits, etc., etc. If you don't have that with that person, there was no reason for y'all to be friends. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things I would say to go back, reassess, think about it. What were you doing, and give it time. Time heals wounds. What would you say, Arlinda?
What I would say is, if the basis of my friendship with someone is a lie, then I don't have a true friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I have very religious friends, and we don't, we respect each other's boundaries. We're not trying to convert each other, and it works. If in order to be someone's friend I need to hide what I believe or lie to them, then that's not a long-term relationship that is sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how I would deal with that is, I would grieve, I would weep, I would cry. If I felt like someone was my friend, but because my closely held belief system, which is a non belief system, right? I'm just saying, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. And if my I don't know is enough for that person not to be my friend, or then it just wasn't meant to be. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, we need to find our community, and my heart will be broken. I am human.
Mm-hmm.
I cry at certain movies that I cry at certain movies that other people wouldn't cry at. I have
Mm-hmm.
emotions because I am a real and whole person, and that is a loss that I would lose. I would, just the thought of it is making me sad. Like my couple of religious friends, if they were to up one day and say, "Linda, you're influencing our family too much," and that would kill me. But
Mm-hmm.
I would have to move on, and that is what is required.
Mm-hmm.
No relationship should be built on a lie, and no relationships, sh- no true relationships should exist where you have to hide a core part of who you are. So
Yeah.
that's all I have to say.
No, 100%, Arlinda. I do agree. Like you have to, just like how you said, right? No true relationship is is not healthy where you have to hide who you are.
I
You
will
know what I
not.
mean? That it will never be healthy. Something would that will cause a rift, and you will slowly start to resent the person. You know what I mean? If you can't be who you are, which is why I love my wife. We could be completely goofy with each other. You know what I mean? Both of us are kind of on the spectrum. So me and her be like, if y'all ever see us interact, we do the goofiest shit you'll ever see in your life. just, just the other day, I was like doing like this. I like Flintstones. Where are the Flintstones? And she's like, "Babe, what the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." We just kind of make each other laugh that way, you know what I mean? So it's but I don't hide that part of who I am. You know, what I mean, I don't do that with my family either. Like I used to do that with my sisters all the time, and I'm glad I could do that with her because she makes me comfortable enough to be that goofy person. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where I like, just like how you said, we should always show who we are, and the people cannot accept that part of you. Just wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be. Annie has a very very good question that I love. She says, "I'm agnostic, but I'm curious. Without religion, where do you find your grounding for hope or guidance?" For myself, I would say for myself, Annie, it's all built on empathy. And I think all human morality and all human guidance comes from empathy. Um, Essentially, I empathize with the third world, especially because my parents are from the third world, right? So I definitely empathize with everything that they're going on there. And my hope for the future is seeing that other humans also empathize. And not only that, we're get to the point where I always say, do not underestimate a large mass of people who are just tired of this shit. You know what I mean? Because that's why revolutions happen. Civil rights happened because black people were tired of that shit. The Haitian Revolution happened because we was tired of that shit. Amistad happened because they was tired of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So never underestimate a large group of people who are just tired of it. You know what I mean? So that's what gives me hope. You know what I'm saying? And that feeling of I'm tired of this, that comes from empathy. That comes from your empathetic roots. You know what I mean? I've always said that the reason I think everybody basically kind of operates this way, where our moralities are based on empathy, equality, um, degrees of harm, essentially, which is why like cheating on your spouse is not as bad as telling your spouse that they gave you an ugly, sweater, but you just say you like it because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You see what I'm saying? Those two things are not as bad as each other, which is why we say that they're both lying, but one is worse than the other, right? So I think that's where that's how we kind of interact in our society. Degrees of harm, empathy, equality, things like that. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's how everyone is. Even people who are religious who say that they take their morals from God, they're the same way. If you actually ask them about my scenario, they would say that yeah, the cheating is worse than telling her that her sweater is ugly. Those one thing is worse than the other. We all interact that way. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I kind of find my grounding for hope. You know what I mean, and guidance. Just being empathetic. The fact that people at a certain point will want things to get better for themselves. And my guidance is, in my own reasoning and values. Just by pure reasoning, suffering is not good. You know what I'm saying? It's not good for humanity. It leads to crime. It leads to trauma. It leads to children dying. No one wants that. You know what I mean? We have to beat it outside of our heads for them to want that. What's going on in Israel, Palestine, the reason why they're doing what they're doing to those people is because they've been brainwashed to see them as less than human. You see what I'm saying? But once you are out of that, once you see human beings for all human beings, and once I think our society moves on to seeing each other as part of the human race, then everything else will just fall by the wayside. Does that make sense to you, Arlinda?
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I can answer the question in a one way. Um, because I had to find a different foundation because I had questions about the faith system in which I was raised. I kind of had to invent my own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the tenets of my own personal belief system is it might be do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me step back. Although I do not have faith that any one religion or any of the religions necessarily is right or wrong, I believe that there are good things that I can extract if there's wisdom everywhere. There is wisdom in biblical texts and in the Quran and in the Baha'i. There's wisdom there. And I'm going to extract every single thing of that. Now, so one second,
Yeah, yeah.
one second. Tara, I'm live. Can you get the baby? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
I love black people. I
Get
love
out,
black
boy.
folks. Oh
Sorry.
man, I love black folks. Hey, I'm doing son. Come get the baby.
Okay. Well, I
Oh
guess
man,
that'll be
I'm
okay.
sorry. Go ahead. No, that's all good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't know how to hit the mute anyway. Okay,
All good.
so
All good. We family here.
where I was going was where I was going is the I had to build my own system based on what I thought was right. I had to build my own system based on what I thought was right, right? And so I came up with my own conclusion that people should be able to do what they want to do until it impacts someone else. And that was a premise to how I interact with other people. How I interact with other people, right? So that means that I'm not going to judge anyone else for their actions. That means I'm going to interact with them. That guides my moral system, which says, okay, would my action interfere with someone else, right? So I think about it, it's wrong to murder people because
Mm-hmm.
I would like to be murdered and they're not consenting to being murdered. It's wrong to steal from people because they would not like for me to take
Still
their
from them.
money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a principle that says everyone does what they want to do until it impacts the life of someone else. That in itself gives me guidance on how I move through the universe and interact in the world. And as far as hope is concerned, I feel like, as far as hope is concerned, I feel like I might have always been a naturally optimistic person. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I when I was young, I had this saying that if I'm being tortured, at least I'm not dead. And if I am dead, at least I'm not being tortured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is there is something about agency and something about how we how we can grab optimism. Like, I have always been one of those people who believe that as long as I can affect anything, that I can affect everything, right? So if there is any action that I can do, any action that anyone can do, I do it. And also, I believe personally that the rest of the world might be corrupt and damaged, but as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, maybe someone else might see my example, maybe I will influence other people, but at the very least I am going to affect a positive change in the universe. So that gives me hope that I have control of my actions, and my actions can do something, whether it's a ripple effect or a butterfly effect. So those two things, a personal system that says every human being should do what they want to do unless or until it negatively impacts another human being, and the idea that I can influence the universe, I can do what I need to do to push life forward, that gives me hope. So I don't need a religious principle if I have come to that underlying guidance system.
Mm. Yeah, I completely agreed. Completely agreed. Yeah. Someone did say on my TikTok said that that sounds like like humanism, which is yeah, it does sound like that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's true. Like that is humanism, where
I mean, if I had found a humanist group that had a lot
mhm,
of black people, I probably would have been in there.
yeah, yeah, same. All right, y'all. Man, that was a good amount of questions, man. I do appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you, Arlinda, for coming up. I'm sorry, you have one more thing?
I actually had one more thing, but I don't know how much time you had. I had one more thing that I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to.
sure, go ahead.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, go.
Because I will shut up and you can call me back in a year whenever you want. Put me on a
No
rotation.
problem.
Um, the one thing that we didn't come to in this discussion that I kind of wanted to talk to, and it was about the helplessness in belief systems in some way. So I don't think we have a whole lot of time because we've been at 1 hour and 27 minutes and 32
Mhm,
seconds. So I know we have to shut up. But like I said, I don't have a problem with any religious based systems. I'm agnostic. I don't know which ones are right or which ones are wrong. The one thing that I do have a concern with
mhm,
is the idea that some religious people don't feel that they need to do the things that will push their initiatives forward because an almighty being is going to do it for them. And
mhm,
when I think about the Black community, and especially how religions were encouraged with us, these religions were encouraged, and a part of me is concerned that some of these faith systems encourage us not to do the things that we need to do to affect our own fates. And here in the United States, especially in a lot of the Americas, African Americans and African Caribbeans, we got the short end of the stick. So
mhm,
if we have a faith and a belief system that says you don't need to do anything because either we're going to be rewarded in the afterlife or God is going to take care of it now. We are less likely to push to do the things that we need to do in this life to make sure that we have the rights that we need in this life. And that is one of the issues that I have. So have a faith system, have a belief system. You will never hear a thing about me. But if you have anything that discourages you from doing the things that you need in this life to affect this world, then that's the one place that I push back against religion. And I also, for example, there's a religion, I'm trying not to say a name now, but there's a religion that came to be right at the end of slavery. And that religion that just happened to coincide with the year that we ended slavery also has a core tenet that they should not vote. And that religion is mostly and always mostly made up of women and Black people, the two groups at the end of the Civil War that could not vote. I am suspicious of that religion, and I'm not going to talk about them, and because we don't have time, and we're already 7 seconds over an hour and a half. But that was the one thing that I wanted to make sure that I cover in this discussion that we had. The one thing, there are good Christians, there are bad Christians, there are good Muslims, there are bad Christians, good Jews, good, there are good everybody, bad everybody. I am not as concerned about these religions because you're going to find good people and hypocrites in every religious tradition, right? What I am concerned about us using religion as a crutch to not do the things that we need to do to push what we need to push forward. And that is the one place where you have something that sounds a little bit like, I don't know, anti-religion for me.
Gotcha. And you know something, like I did forget, forget to get to that, because I said it on my last interview. You're absolutely right about what you're pointing out, because I've seen it in my in my own culture, right? In 2010, when the earthquake happened in Haiti, that was a year after I visited there. After the earthquake happened and everything was, rubble in the streets, have to rebuild their houses, everything like that. There's work that needs to be done. The first thing that a lot of Haitians started doing, it was even on the news, it was on CNN. The first thing that they started doing was singing a church song. And that church song, it goes, Dude, by God, déjà bien. What that means is everything is going to be all right. And one of the bridge says, because we have Jesus in our hearts, everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is fine. That's the song, right? And it really bothered me. It really bothered me. And I think that's what was the catalyst of my deconstruction, because it was like, we are a nation that has been suffering for hundreds of years, from dictators to coups to interventions. And now there's an earthquake happening. And you guys are all saying that it's going to be all right. Jesus is going to save us. Jesus hasn't saved us for 200 years. And our ancestors didn't cry to Jesus in order to have the revolution started. They cried to Urzuli, Shango, and Ogun. All right. The African gods that says, get your ass up and beat these people's asses. That's what that's what they prayed to. You know what I'm saying? And over the course of the years of that, of course, you see people that, the earthquake happened because of, the revolution. And then we were, we worship demons and all this other crap and everything like that. You know what I mean? It really bothered me. You see what I'm saying? And it brought me back to those sermons that I always hear in the church. The sermons that I always hear in the church, especially from these, you know how black pastors are when they start sweating and they're like, you know how I go. Yeah, those. So I remember a pastor that says, I have the blood of Jesus. I don't need, home insurance. I got Jesus. I don't need a gun in my house. I got Jesus. I can go over to Haiti right now with no passport, and I made it back. Why? Because of Jesus. And I'm like, you were stuck in Haiti for 7 months, bro, because you didn't bring your passport. What are you saying? What are you saying? Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, to me, I realized two things, because I used to live in Texas for about 2.5, 3 years when my father had a contract over there, and we moved back to Florida. For those years, we had to go to church, right? But the closest church was a white church, so that's where
Mm-hmm.
we went. We went to a white church, and one thing that I noticed between the white church and the black church is, I always say this: the white church teaches something that I call David theology, and the black church teaches what I call blood theology. David theology is the first story that kids learn in the white church, is a story of David. That's the first story we learn. The story of David and Goliath. Why? Because they teach you that you are a warrior. You know what I mean? Your family is your flock. Your friends are your flock. All of you are David. You're all warriors. And the enemy can be anything. It can be bad grades. It can be addiction. It can be anything. But that enemy is Goliath. And you need to take it down in order for you to protect your flock. So they teach white kids to be warriors.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I go to the black church, when I saw what those kids were learning, they were learning you never have to worry about anything because you're covered by the blood of Jesus.
I
So
mean, and that
essentially,
is
what
a very, sorry.
no problem. So essentially, exactly what you're talking about. Essentially, leave everything to the blood of Jesus. But over on the white side, they're talked about you need to get up and defeat the enemy. But over on this side, we're taught blood of Jesus. You see what I mean?
Exactly. Cultural, right? So again, we picked and chose which parts of the religious text to share with which people. And like
Mm-hmm.
you said, the evangelicals got their way. How did they get their way? Through action and planning, as their tradition and culture taught them, with the cover of religion on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
We the Now, there's some nuance here, right?
Of course.
Black led organizations were not going to be allowed to be as free as the white led organizations in the United
Mm-hmm.
States. We have racism, we have those things, but there is still a part of that says we have been taught throughout generations to let go and let God,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Let
Yeah.
go and let
And
God.
let God. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because Arlinda, you're trying to shape your fate. You can't control anything, only God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing that I want to make sure. I know we're over time and I appreciate it, but that's the one thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. Even a religious person listening to this, I am not against you and your belief system. You might be right, but make sure you do the actions that you can do to correct and shape your fate in this life. You don't have to jeopardize your afterlife to make the change now that will affect your people on this earth. That is the one place where I push back on certain religious people.
Exactly. Hey, Arlinda, I appreciate that. This conversation was amazing. I think this is the most question I ever had. You know what I mean? You brought a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom to this conversation. I really, really appreciate you. This is amazing for the lucky number 13th. You know what I mean? Atheist testimonials. This was amazing. This was great. The last thing that I want to ask now. This is something that um my content, what I do, is a little bit more I say contra, a little bit confrontational. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I've always asked this, because whenever I speak to our people, whenever I speak to atheists about creating an atheist community, at least a black atheist community, right? A lot of folks would say that I would rather us focus on building our community than going out there to do these like debate bro things. Yeah, I mean, because we don't have a community built yet. So we need to build our internal community before we worry about going out there to confront anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is what I get. I get it. We do need to build our community. But the content that I do is more debating. You know what I mean? Now I do know a lot of people do not like, debate stuff, especially since it's become, very, very disingenuous over the course of a few years. But I've always said that the reason why I don't debate to change any Christian's mind or change any Muslim's mind or change the mind of Black Hebrew Israelites, especially the Black Hebrew Power Rangers. We're never going to change those minds, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
We're never going to change those minds, right? So I do it for the sake of the audience, to get them to understand our perspective and know that we're here, right? So that's what I always say. And people will like to say, what should we focus on more? Should we focus more on the community, or should we focus more on putting us out there and being more confrontational, trying to get on Jubilee and stuff like that, right? I've always said that we can walk and chew gum. That's why I'm trying to build the community. And yeah, you're right, Annie. I did get the first hate comment. Everyone can see the first hate comment, right? Yeah, I always get those. I always get those. It's no problem. They see beautiful Black people talking and they get upset. That's the issue. All right, but yeah. So I've always said that we can do both at the same time. In your opinion, what do you think we should concentrate on more, and what would you concentrate on as far as this atheist movement is going?
Okay, so I do agree with those that say that we should form the community first.
Mhm.
I do believe that, and frankly, I really don't care about the debates. I just
Mhm.
don't. Like if you're going to ask me my opinion, I'm going to share my opinion. But like I said, I have a relatively positive interaction with the church. I didn't believe, but I didn't have any of those issues. I really do believe that just as okay, let me say flat earthers, right? I'm gonna mention flat earthers. Flat earthers will debate a scientist. And the
Mhm.
flat earther will never debate the scientist, and the scientist, I mean, will never convince the scientist, and the scientist will never convince the flat earther. I would not give the flat earther a single thought. They can go and live their life believing that the earth is flat, and I don't know what else they believe. I don't. I will completely ignore them. I just do not care. Like
Mhm.
I'm not saying you should do anything other than what you're doing, but I personally debate by
Mhm.
just having conversations with the Christians that are in my world. They
Mhm.
ask me questions, I respond. That is absolutely the closest to a debate that I'm ever going to get, because just as I came to my conclusion myself, other people are going to come to their conclusion themselves. And the other thing that I don't want atheist communities to become is a pseudo religion where
Mhm.
we want to push our belief system of or non-belief system in a way down someone's throat to the point that the way they live their lives is unacceptable and should be ostracized from us. Now I know we're the minority. It will take a long time before that happened, but one day if it happened, that would be disappointing to me. So just build your community, live your life, be happy. That is going to be enough, because frankly, we're real cool. And
Mhm.
people want to be wanting to be associated with those cool people who are free, who aren't judgmental, that just live their life and have, I don't know, barbecue and watermelon or whatever we're doing at the thing that you're having in
Mm.
2026 in
Yeah,
Florida.
exactly. Just ignore the Wesley guy. But
Oh, I don't care.
um, yeah, I got you. No,
I literally don't care.
so no, I got you. I understand. No, I definitely understand that, right? I definitely understand. You mind if I offer you a little bit of pushback, right?
Sure.
The reason why I've always found confronting them to be important
Mm-hmm.
is because the only reason why people usually care what you believe is because of what you believe, what it makes you do. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times your belief is a guide for your actions, right?
Right.
So, like for example, when you brought up the whole flat earther thing, people really didn't care about them. Like back in the early 2000s, they existed. back in 2005, 2007, they existed. Like no one cared about them. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why people started caring about them more is because the entire flat earth thing, it brings you into science denial. And then once you're in science denial, then you start denying other things about the scientific process. And
Mm-hmm.
then you end up with people like RFK Jr. saying that vaccines are leading to autism, that there are certain things in our food that we shouldn't eat. There are even people who are saying that depression isn't real. You know what I mean? And even
Uh-huh.
though depression is a real thing and it causes actual harm, there are people who would say that depression isn't real, which is another form of science denial. Same thing with
Mm-hmm.
climate change is science denial. You know what I mean? Um, the flat earther is just an example of that. When you the reason why people confront these illogical beliefs, even though we know that we're not gonna convince the other person, just like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's more for the audience to show that these people are saying crazy, untrue things, right? When it comes to religion, of course, like I said, the only reason why I'm doing it is because I like the entertainment of it. I should have been a lawyer. I love to debate, but one of the reasons why I do it is because um not just to show not just to show people that someone like myself exists, someone who's a black non-believer, but also to kind of one kind of expose a lot of the toxic beliefs that
Mm-hmm.
it do exist in Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
and hope for the people who are thoughtful Christians, who are thoughtful Muslims, would come to understanding that these things are in our community and we should start to try to push them out. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you see what I'm saying? Because you'll be surprised of a lot of Christians who do not know that there are Christians out there who actually do support you know the children over in Gaza all being wiped out. There are people who support that. You know what I'm saying? So it's me doing those debates kind of exposes that to a larger audience, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I kind of do it. And that's why people who are on the science side, that's
Mm-hmm.
why they've all started to confront the flat earthers, because they started to see that it's damaging. Because all the way up into the highest parts of government, people who are science deniers are now stripping the CDC of their powers and firing all the scientists. You know what I mean? And a good example of this is that over in the USSR, there was science denial over there as well, and it caused starvation on a massive scale, which is why people start to say, okay, this stuff is actually harmful, so let's confront it. You know what I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's for myself. That's why I do it, but I do understand people who just not part of it don't want to do it because I want to build a community first, just like how yourself is. There's definitely a place for you. You know what I mean? Black Atheist Rants, who I interviewed 2 weeks ago, he
Mm-hmm.
says we need all hands on deck. The people who are not interested in debate and just want to build a community, we need them. And he said the people like myself, you know what I mean, who are interested in debate, we need y'all out there too. Y'all got to be on the front lines, but we all got to be in this together, building that community. Does all
The
that make
truth
sense, Arlinda?
is, no, that makes perfect sense. But the truth is, um, you can tell that I grew up in the church. That's not my ministry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe that I would be an excellent debater. Like I said, I know the Bible better than a
You would.
whole lot of Christians. I think that I would be an excellent debater, but okay, so me, I've had a career in sales, and I've sold all over the world, including countries that didn't consider me human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm selling into these environments, I have to think about the most effective way to get them to do the thing that I want them to do, which is buy my medical device widgets, right? And so when I'm doing that, if my approach is a debating style, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's my approach, you need this is why you need that. I don't need it for that reason. No, if that's my debating style, I'm not going to be selling those, six-figure medical devices in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to do that. What
No, I
I
understand.
needed to do to
Mm-hmm.
sell my widgets was to make it their idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's never going to be their idea if I'm going point for point and telling them everything is wrong. Like, what I needed to do is just show them a certain thing, or like have an example, or ask them questions, not debate truth or lie.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them questions so that they can think for themselves and come to the conclusion that they want to buy my six-figure medical device, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I come to you, like the analog for this scenario really is, if I am debating them,
Mm-hmm.
then we're battling and it's never their idea. But if I am
Mm-hmm.
in different conversations where I'm asking them questions and they're coming to the conclusion on their own time and their own pace, that is what's going to move the needle. So the community is so that everyone knows that they're not alone, that there are other people who also don't have faith systems or who question things, and it's okay to question. Maybe you question and then you go right back to Christianity or Islam or whatever, but it's okay to question, and we welcome you and accept you. And then the other part of it is, just by me asking questions, just by me asking questions, you come to your own conclusion on whatever your faith system is going to be. But when we debate, in my opinion, when we debate, people become more entrenched. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yes, I agree with you that the audience will see something that maybe they haven't seen before. But I've never been like really one for social media, having people
Mm-hmm.
see me. So, you know.
No, no, no. Arlinda, like what you're saying is definitely true, and I've approached like I have approached it that way before. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the conversation goes way better than rather than me being confrontational. Which is why, like every time I do a debate, my prompts isn't your God is a sick fuck or anything like that. I don't do that because that's so confrontational. I'm more of why should I be a Christian? Why should I be a Muslim? Can you give me a good reason to believe in God? It's more of those things. So people are coming for a discussion rather than okay, I'm going to need to fight this guy. So yeah, you're
Fair
absolutely
enough.
right.
Fair
You're
enough.
absolutely right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like your approach is approach that I like to take. You know what I mean? Now there are times where I am confrontational. You could ask my audience. There are times I am confrontational, but your approach is perfect. Actually, I've always said that. Just like how you said, attract more flies with honey.
Hmm.
That's if you make it their idea, if you ask them those questions and if you point out things to them, I mean, I'd be like, okay, here's an issue here, here's an issue there, here's an issue there. These are problems that I have. Can you see why I don't believe this and that and the third? You can make them think more, which is why I appreciate that approach and I actually do agree with it.
And
Appreciate
then at the end of the day, I'm still not going to preach to them. So I'm going to let everybody
it.
live their lives. They're going to come to their conclusion when they come to their conclusion. And heck, like I said, maybe they're right. To me, it's irrelevant. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do what I can do based on the evidence at my fingertips and what I can control. And that's all I can do. And one day, hopefully in 50, 60 years, I'll know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. But Arlinda, this was amazing and wonderful. We're at about an hour and 51 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I did go about 2 hours with Black Atheist Rant, so it's not a problem. All right.
Okay.
This is no, but this is great, and I definitely want you to be part of a series that I'm gonna do soon called Ask Black Atheists, which is gonna be sort of like this, where people are just gonna be talking and you know, or people are gonna be like talking and doing things like that. So I'm saying, so it's we're definitely gonna be setting that up soon. Where it's gonna be more of a panel show. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a discussion. Yeah, I mean, where we're gonna have call-ins and stuff like that. You saw it when I was in the Discord, so I was just setting that up. You know what I mean? So we're definitely gonna have some more of these for everybody who was here tonight. I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who asked the questions. I appreciate everybody who was in my comments. It was hilarious to see the hater come by. that was that was
That was
hilarious.
kind of cute, wasn't it? It was just like you want to pet
Yeah,
him.
yeah, that was so hilarious. But he's talking like he
So
was
cute.
trying to sell us barcodes. I don't know why. That was hilarious. So the troll that came by, that was hilarious. Come by on another platform because that was funny. But yeah, so just to let everyone know, check the link in my bio. We do have the Ask Black Atheist Discord. We're gonna have the Ask Black Atheist panel show coming soon. If you would like to be a part of that, please join the Discord so we can go ahead and have more discussions. I definitely want to have one day an all male panel, an all female panel, an LGBTQ panel, et cetera, et cetera. We're gonna do all that. All right. So um also Arlinda, since we're ending this off, go ahead and let the people know where they can find you and how they can support everything that you do.
Okay, so I'm a writer that is about to launch a Substack page, but I wasn't ready just yet. So I'm have to tell him to tell you all later. The only thing I have right now is Blue Sky, and I am Bronze Flame at that social media website. I'm sorry. I am not a social media type person. He said you want to interview an atheist. It's like this is having a conversation that I just happen to be on the computer. So yes, sorry, I don't have anything for you, but I will let him know when my writing is out in case you all want to support me. Then I guess I should have did this interview a month later. Bossy
Oh no,
thought.
no.
So you
All good.
make sure
The
you
moment
tell
you
me,
put it up,
right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. The moment you put it up is gonna be in my link tree. Yeah, I mean, I'll put that
That's what
all
I'm
up.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'll put that all up and I'll promote it as much as I can. Of course, we're gonna have the Ask Black Atheist panel soon. So once it's up, you know what I mean, it's up there and it's stuck there, and we'll definitely promote you. All right, guys, I appreciate you all being here. You will see a replay on this on YouTube, Black Atheist Coalition on YouTube. Again, check my bio, check my link tree. You'll be able to see it. Uh, join the Ask Black Atheist subreddit. Join the Ask Black Atheist Discord. The links are in my bio as well. You'll be able to catch it there. And Arlinda, you were great. I do appreciate this, and we will see y'all soon. All right, y'all. Last thing, next year in Florida, the Black Atheist Skeptics and Humanists Cookout is going down in June. I hope to see you all there. All right. Until next time, next week I'm gonna be interviewing someone else. We're gonna be interviewing my homie Tahir. Tahir is another wonderful Black woman atheist, and we're gonna be interviewing her next week for the 14th atheist testimonial. You guys are amazing. Peace out, y'all.
Bye bye.
Just end it here.